Good afternoon, my friends. My name is Melissa from Melissa's Struggling Walk with Jesus. I am here sharing the Word of God with you. I am using the Amplified Holy Bible and the Navigator's Bible Reading Plan, and I am on month 5, and today I will be working out of 1 Samuel chapters 11 through 13. Chapter 11, the title starts in with Saul defeats the Ammonites, and it says, Now Nahash, the Ammonite king, went up and besieged Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, Make a treaty of peace with us, and we will serve you. In verse 1, where it says Ammonite. So the Ammonites were descendants of Lot. Check out Genesis chapter 19, verses 36 through 38. And in verse 1, where it says besieged. This was a common military tactic used against a fortified walled city or garrison, to take it with a minimal loss of troops. All supplies and communication were cut off between the city and the outside world, in the hope of starving out the citizens or destroying their morale and will to resist. All right, verse 2. But Nahash the Ammonite told them, I will make a treaty with you on this condition, that I will gouge out the right eye of every one of you, and make it a disgrace upon all Israel. In verse 2, where it says gouge, this is partially blinding a man, made him almost useless as an enemy combatant or archer, because it hampered his depth perception and limited his peripheral vision. All right, verse 3. The elders of Jabesh said to Nahash, Give us 7 days so that we may send messengers throughout the territory of Israel. Then, if there is no one to save us, we will come out and surrender to you. Verse 4. Then the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul and told the news to the people. And all the people raised their voices and wept aloud. Verse 4, where it says, Then Nahash granted the request, even though the Israelites offered to submit to slavery in verse 1, clearly indicated that they were in essence already defeated. Nahash undoubtedly believed that there was no formidable person to save Israel, and he wanted to see them willingly submit to the painful and debilitating mutilation that he had planned for them. All right, verse 5. Now Saul was coming out of the field behind the oxen, and he said, What is the matter with the people that they are weeping? So they told him about the report of the men of Jabesh. The Spirit of God came upon Saul mightily when he heard these words, and he became extremely angry. And he took a team of oxen and cut them in pieces, and sent them throughout the territory of Israel by the hand of messengers, saying, Whoever does not come out to follow Saul and Samuel, the same shall be done to his oxen. Then fear of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out united as one man with one purpose. Verse 8. He assembled and counted them at Bezek, and the sons of Israel numbered 300,000, and the men of Judah 30,000. They said to the messengers who had come, You shall say to the men of Jabesh Gilead, Tomorrow, by the time the sun is hot, you will have help against the Ammonites. So the messengers came and reported this to the men of Jabesh, and they were overjoyed. In verse 9, where it says help, other Bible literature says deliverance. Verse 10. So the men of Jabesh said to Nahash the Ammonite, Tomorrow we will come out to you to surrender, and you may do to us whatever seems good to you." The next morning Saul put the men into 3 companies, and they entered the Ammonite camp during the darkness of the early morning watch, and killed the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And the survivors were scattered, and no 2 of them were left together. The people said to Samuel, "Who is the one who said, 'Shall Saul reign over us?' Bring them in, and we will put them to death." But Saul said, "No man shall be put to death this day, for today the Lord has brought victory to Israel." In verse 13, where it says victory, other Bible literature says deliverance. Verse 14. Samuel said to the people, "Come, let us go to Gilgal and there restore the kingdom." So all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. There they also sacrificed peace offerings before the Lord, and there Saul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly. All right, chapter 12, the title is Samuel Addresses Israel. And it says, "Then Samuel said to all Israel, 'Behold, I have listened to your voice in everything that you have said to me, and have appointed a king over you. And now here is the king walking before you. As for me, I am old and gray, and here are my sons with you. I have walked before you from my childhood to this day. Here I am. Testify against me before the Lord and Saul, his anointed, if I have done someone wrong. Whose ox have I taken? Or whose donkey have I taken? Or whom have I exploited? Whom have I oppressed, or from whose hand have I taken a bribe to blind my eyes to the truth? Tell me, and I will restore it to you." They said, "You have not exploited us, or oppressed us, or taken anything at all from a man's hand." Samuel said to them, "The Lord is a witness against you, and Saul, his anointed, is a witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand." And they answered, "He is a witness." Then Samuel said to the people, "It is the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your fathers and ancestors up from the land of Egypt. Now then, take your stand, so that I may plead and contend with you before the Lord concerning all the righteous acts of the Lord, which he did for you and for your fathers." In verse 8, "When Jacob and his sons had come into Egypt, and later when the Egyptians oppressed them, and your fathers cried out to the Lord, then the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your fathers out of Egypt and settled them in this place." In verse 8, where it says fathers, for example, the descendants of Jacob, Israel, and his 12 sons. Verse 9, "But when they forgot the Lord their God, he sold them into the hand of Sisera, commander of Hazar's army, and into the hand of the Philistines and of the king of Moab, and they fought against them." In verse 9, where it says Sisera, these may be representatives of Israel's enemies during the time of the judges. Sisera of Hazar to the north, the Philistines to the west, and Moab to the south and west. Verse 10, "They cried out to the Lord, saying, 'We have sinned because we have rejected the Lord, and have served the Baals and the Ashtoreth. But now rescue us from the hands of our enemies, and we will serve you.'" Verse 11, "Then the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Gideon, and Bedan, and Jephthah, and Samuel, and he rescued you from the hand of your enemies on every side, and you lived in security." In verse 11, where it says Bedan, this is Greek and in Greek and Syriac, this reads Barak. All right, verse 1 Samuel chapter 12, starting with verse 12. The title is The King Confirmed. So, but when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, had come against you, you said to me, No, but a king shall reign over us, although the Lord your God was your king. Now therefore, here is Saul the king, whom you have chosen, and for whom you asked. Behold, the Lord has set a king over you. If you will fear the Lord with awe and profound reverence, and serve him, and listen to his voice, and not rebel against his commandments, then both you and your king will follow the Lord your God, and it will be well. Verse 15. But if you do not listen to the Lord's voice, but rebel against his command, then the hand of the Lord will be against you to punish you, as it was against your fathers. In verse 15, where it says command, other Bible literature says mouth. Verse 16. So now, take your stand and see this great thing which the Lord will do before your eyes. Is it not the beginning of the wheat harvest today? I will call to the Lord, and he will send thunder and rain. Then you will know without any doubt. And see that your evil which you have done is great in the sight of the Lord, by asking for yourselves a king. So Samuel called to the Lord in prayer, and he sent thunder and rain that day. And all the people greatly feared the Lord and Samuel. Verse 19. Then all the people said to Samuel, Pray to the Lord your God for your servants, so that we will not die. For we have added to all our sins this evil, to ask for a king for ourselves. In verse 19 where it says, So the 50 days between the beginning of the barley harvest, the Passover, and the end of the wheat harvest, the Pentecost, are called the days of trepidation. During these 50 days, the farmers pray that it will not rain because of all the major crops of the land. The 7 varieties of Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 7 through 10, come to fruition during this time. The rain destroys crops in the field and any produce that has been harvested and covered. The resulting famine from the crop failure would result to many deaths. All right, verse 20. Samuel said to the people, Do not be afraid. You have indeed done all this evil. Yet do not turn away from following the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. You must not turn away, for then you would go about futile things which cannot profit or rescue, because they are futile. The Lord will abandon his people for his great name's sake, because the Lord has been pleased to make you a people for himself. Moreover, as for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by ceasing to pray for you, but I will instruct you in the good and right way. Only fear the Lord with awe and profound reverence, and serve him faithfully with all your heart. For consider what great things he has done for you. But if you still do evil, both you and your king will be swept away to destruction. All right, 1 Samuel chapter 13, for those itches. The title goes into war with the Philistines. And it says, Saul was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 42 years over Israel. In verse 1 where it says he reigned, or after he reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose. All right, in verse 1 where it says 42 years, you can see Acts chapter 13, verse 21, Hebrew omits 40. All right, verse 2. Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel, of whom 2,000 were with him in Michmash, and in the hill country of Bethel, while 1,000 were with Jonathan at Gibeah of Benjamin. But he sent the rest of the people away, each one to his own tent. Jonathan attacked and defeated the Philistine garrison, which was at Geba, and the Philistines heard about it. Then Saul blew the trumpet throughout the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear." All Israel heard that Saul had defeated the Philistine garrison, and also that Israel had become despicable to the Philistines. And the people were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. Now the Philistines gathered to fight against Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and troops in multitude, like sand on the seashore. They came up and camped at Michmash, east of Bethaven. And when the men of Israel saw that they were in a tight situation, for the troops were hard pressed, they hid in caves, in thickets, in cellars, and in dry cisterns, pits. Also, some of the Hebrews had crossed the river Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling in fear and anticipation. Now Saul waited 7 days, according to the appointed time which Samuel had set. But Samuel had not came to Gilgal, and the people were scattering away from Saul. Verse 9. So Saul said, "Bring me the burnt offering and the peace offerings." And he offered the burnt offering, which he was forbidden to do. All right, verse 9, where it says he. So this was a direct violation of the instructions Samuel had given to Saul in chapter 10, verse 8. Verse 10. As soon as he finished offering the burnt offering, Samuel finally came. Saul went out to meet and to welcome him. In verse 10, where it says Samuel, other Bible literature says, "Behold, Samuel came." And in verse 10, where it says welcome, other Bible literature says bless. Verse 11. But Samuel said, "What have you done?" Saul said, "Since I saw that the people were scattering away from me, and that you did not come within the appointed time, and that the Philistines were assembling at Michmash. Therefore I said, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not asked for the Lord's favor by making supplication to him, so I forced myself to offer the burnt offering." Samuel said to Saul, "You have acted foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you. For if you had obeyed, the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not endure. The Lord has sought out for himself a man, David, after his own heart, and the Lord has appointed him as a leader and ruler over his people, because you have not kept and obeyed what the Lord commanded you." Then Samuel arose and went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul assembled and counted the people who were still with him only, about 600 fighting men. Saul and his son Jonathan and the people with him were staying in Gibeah of Benjamin, while the Philistines camped at Michmash. And the raiding party came from the Philistine camp in 3 companies. One company turned toward Ophrah to the land of Shual. Another company turned toward Beth-horon, and another toward the border overlooking the valley of Zebaim toward the wilderness. Verse 19. Now no blacksmith, metalworker, could be found in all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said, "Otherwise the Hebrews will make swords or spears." In verse 19, where it says blacksmith, Israel lacked the ability to produce iron until the time of Solomon. Verse 20. So all the men of Israel went down to the Philistines, each to get his plowshare, pick, axe, or sickle sharpened. The fee for sharpening was a pim, which is 2/3 of a shekel, for the plowshares, the picks, the pitchforks, and the axes, and to straighten the goads, the cattle prods. Verse 22. So it came about on the day of battle that neither sword nor spear was found in the hands of any of the people who were with Saul and Jonathan, but Saul and Jonathan his son had them. All right, in verse 22 where it says neither sword. So because the Israelites did not yet know how to work iron, their weapons were limited to the bow and arrow and the sling. The sling was a formidable projectile weapon that had a small cradle or pouch between two lengths of cord. And it was used not only in combat by ancient people, but also for hunting game. All right, verse 23. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the pass at Michmash.